Good morning, Trondheim Faith Community. It's good to see you again this week. Last week we talked about the most Trondheim thing, those things that we do that epitomize who we are, our core values, and our relationships, our ministry plan. And today, since I'm wearing my Lonsdale area food shelf shirt and I'm planning to go over for my volunteer shift this afternoon, I thought that would be a great ministry to talk about today. I think our partnership with the Lonsdale area food shelf is one of the most Trondheim things we do. There is something in our DNA of this faith community that makes us really passionate about reaching out into the local community. And this partnership with the food shelf is one of the ways that we do that. Food ministry is a passion of mine. It's something I've been involved with in different ways for well over a decade through different avenues, different organizations, including Loaves and Fishes, Feed My Starving Children. I was involved with several years with the food shelf at the Lutheran Social Services Center for Changing Lives in downtown Minneapolis, and now of course the food shelf. I sit on the board and I volunteer. I try to get there once a month or every other month for an afternoon. And some of the ways that our community partners is we have many people at the food shelf who volunteer who come from Trondheim. So that's one of the ways. We have the donation box where you can bring in food and leave here. We're a pickup site. And maybe this is one thing you might have forgotten, that every quarter Trondheim donates 0.5% of all our offerings back to the food shelf to support them in their mission. And finally, we do different events. You might have remember a couple years ago when we had the Super Bowl here in Minnesota, we had the Super Bowl here, the S-O-U-P, Super Bowl, and we had a friendly competition between the churches to see who could collect the most cans of soup for the food shelf. And we've had the youth do some events, and we partnered with them in different ways. VBS is another way that we have done specific events to support that partnership. And so I think it's a really important part of our Trondheim faith community, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention again, and the way that we reach out through the community, through the food shelf, and it makes a difference in real people's lives every single month. The other aspect of this, though, that I want to talk about is there's so many myths and misconceptions and stereotypes about people who use the food shelf. And so I want to just tell you a few stories of the people that I've met through my different experiences, not just here, but my different experiences in food ministry, and maybe counteract some of those myths. So I can think of many families that I've met, and oftentimes, and I would say most of the time, the parents in the family, one or both of them are working. But in this country, we have such an affordable housing crisis that so much of family income goes to paying the rent or the mortgage, that if anything unexpected happens, an unexpected car bill, an unexpected illness or injury, the budget can get really tight. And so these are the families that come to us at the food shelf to stretch their dollars, to make sure they can get through the month and keep a roof over their heads and keep their family fed. So working families are a huge percentage of our clients. The other story that I hear so often over the years is that someone was injured or ill, they lost their job, then they lost their health insurance, and now in order to eat, to cover that most basic necessity, they need to come to food shelves or community dinners to get by. And a lot of times those injuries or illnesses are not readily apparent. They're not something that can be physically seen. sometimes they're mental illness, sometimes they are other physical illnesses that don't have outward symptoms. And so that's another story that I hear very often. And I would say the third most common story that I hear from people is senior citizens. People who are retired live on fixed incomes. Often they're trying to get by just on Social Security. And again, it goes back to our affordable housing crisis that by the time our seniors pay for their rent and cover their medical bills and their utilities, there's not a lot left over. And so they rely on the food shelf to get them through a month. And I think one of the most poignant examples of this was a woman that used to come to the Minneapolis food distribution that I would help at. And she lived in a senior citizen apartment building. But there were many seniors in her building who were disabled and couldn't physically get to the food shelf. But this woman would come and she would get her one share that she got, and she would go back and divide it 3 ways so that she was not only taking care of herself, but she was loving her neighbor and taking care of her neighbor's food shelf on that one single share that she got. And it was such an incredible example of generosity. And I wanted to share these with you because so often we hear in the media and internet memes and social media and things like that, oh, the people that use food shelves are lazy, they're trying to scam the system. And in all my years, that has been such a small, tiny percentage of the people that I encounter. And so I am so grateful for Trondheim and this faith community that you have a heart for this partnership and that you continue to support this partnership. And so I think it's important to know what an impact that you really have on families' lives, on senior lives, and on our community as a whole. If you want to know more, please let me know, and I would be happy to get you all kinds of information and ways that you can help. So that's it for this week. One of the most Trondheim things we do is our partnership with the food shelf. Thanks, and have a great day.